surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, hone into their mindsets. I remember when I was a brand new agent and they said, get your license, which I did, and then forget all the whatever you just learned to get your license. Now let's go create a problem, which meant go get your first contract, whether it be listing or selling. Real estate is so experiential, and I think that's what goes back to even the most seasoned agents are still learning because it's so ever-changing. So just go create problems and then talk to people who are going to teach you and coach you into how to be better and how to troubleshoot things, because you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cincinnati Real Producers Podcast, powered by Nextdoor Photos. I'm Patrick Braddock, owner and publisher of Cincinnati Real Producers.
And I'm Daniel Ziegler, owner of Nextdoor Photos. Every week, we're getting to know Cincinnati's top realtors.
Our goal is to elevate and inspire the real estate community throughout greater Cincinnati.
Today, we have Chris Owens with Keller Williams 7 Hills. Chris has been selling real estate since 2013. Her career sales volume is an impressive $50 million, and in 2023 alone, she sold $9.4 million. Chris was honored to receive the Good Neighbor Award at the Realtor Alliance of Greater Cincinnati in 2021. She has also achieved Circle of Excellence 8 times out of her 11 years of service, not to mention RE/MAX Hall of Fame in 2021 and Ohio Realtors President's Sales Club with distinction. Welcome to the show, Chris Owens.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, where to start? You know, we always have like this segmented version of what we want to do, and there's just so much to talk about today because you as an individual are just so fascinating. So diving into it real quick, I really want to talk about you as a person. So let's just knock this out and like, because I have so many questions. This is gonna be outrageous. Tell us about yourself, and like what you like to do, and what'd you do before real estate? Kind of go through your background a little bit for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's kind of a big question.
I know. It's kind of an open-ended question, so that I can
just set the stage here.
So I can just filter all my other questions into it.
So I'm from northern Indiana, and I moved to Cincinnati area 26 years ago, back in 1998. I was pregnant at the time with my firstborn, and also got a contract job with Procter & Gamble at the time, and always thought I would be I couldn't imagine being a stay-at-home mom, right? But after I gave birth, that's exactly what I did. I looked at her little face, and I thought, how in the world can I leave this precious little face? And my ex-husband at the time had an income that gave me the option to have that choice. And so I always say that, to any guys out there that can give their families those choices, that's a huge gift. So I stayed at home for 15 years before I really worked outside of the house. However, within the first year, there was always that driving force within me that needed to kind of do something. So, but I did not want to leave my children. So I eventually had a second one. So I have a daughter, Ashley, who's 26, and my son is Zachary, who is almost 22. Wow. But within those years, the first 13 years, I sold Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Nice.
And it seemed to work.
You crushed it too, didn't you?
I was a senior sales director,
I feel like you did pretty well.
4 cars, and we had a team of, I think it was almost up to 80 people that I helped to develop and drive and teach how to build a business. So I did that, and but when I first moved to Cincinnati, just to kind of give a little background of how I actually jumped into real estate, was I had met some friends and a broker, and they were always like, Chris, you got to do this. And I was like, I saw how y'all worked and the crazy schedules, and my priority is to my kids, and I'll call you when I'm ready. Well,
Yeah.
15 years later, I was ready. So, but after I sold Mary Kay, I did a short stint of 2 years as a development assistant director to a homeless shelter
Really?
here in Cincinnati. And then as my kids got older, they get more expensive. And my commitment to them was that I would pay for their educational endeavors. So through the blessing of my real estate, my kids, that's what I did. They
Good for
both. So I was fortunate enough to give them the segue into their adult lives to be
That's
debt free,
huge.
and they're off and running, and I'm off and running. So
Good
here
for
we are.
you.
That's great.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
gift. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is a gift.
Speaking of running,
Here we
Here
go.
we go.
what do you like to do outside of the business now that you've told us about your family?
So what he's getting at is I'm a 2-time Ironman, full Ironman athlete. I've done 13 half Ironman races. So I do a lot of biking, running, and swimming, but most importantly, I just love to continue with an active lifestyle with people of the same mindset, and just have some fun.
That's
I don't do it
fantastic.
competitively. It's really me against me the entire time, and
yeah.
with every race. So
When did you first start doing that? When was your first half?
my very first triathlon ever was in 2015.
Okay.
And I went up to St. Joe, Michigan, and did my first triathlon was a half Ironman. So
That's so silly.
I know it
Jesus.
is a little crazy
It
silly,
is so
but
silly.
there's
But
a-
it's fascinating, and that's why I really want to bring it up, because it is truly fascinating, just based on the mental preparation, not even the physical. Like, if anybody wants to do it physically, you can prepare your body to go through that, but mentally, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I think there's so many correlations with this conversation, with business, with life, and then with the Ironman. What prepared you mentally to dive into, and what was the motivation to do the Ironman in the beginning? Like, I don't know if I've ever asked you that, because now you've done like 1,000 of them. It's like, okay, it's just Chris doing what Chris does. But like, what was your motivation in the very beginning to just be like, all right, I need to do a triathlon. It might as well be an Ironman. Like, what were your thoughts?
Right.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
and I think the most common answer is us endurance athletes. We're always looking for that next thing, but
Yeah.
really, what's the root behind why we want to do those next things, right? And what I found through Ironman experience and doing races is that the biggest piece I get out of it is I really found where I was bound by my own mental limitations. I am a firm believer that those mental limitations are not of God. They're of my, however they form within me, right? And I bring that up because I'm always trying to reach my full potential in the ways that God really has created me. And there's so many scripture behind that I could identify as to why that links back to that. But really, it just really helps to confront the day-to-day training and the overall experience, because when you look at it as a big picture, it is like, you think that's not possible, right? To do 2.5 miles swim, 112 bike, and a full 26.2 marathon, all within 17 hours, like, that's not possible,
To do it twice.
right?
is-
But you know what? The one scripture, with Christ all things are possible, and that is the one thing that I always like to challenge the most, to think, okay, if you're saying it's possible.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Let's
And
do
then
it.
the scripture I got after the day after I woke up from my very first full Ironman, which was in 2019 at Ironman Chattanooga, was, "You are powerfully and wonderfully made." And it was kind of that affirmation to say, see, you're more than what you think you are.
Yeah.
Right? So in a real answer, that's why I continue to do it, because I like to just take those limits off, and it's all mental, because our bodies are going to do what our brains and head and minds believe. So one of my favorite quotes is, "Sky's not the limit, your belief system is."
Wow. I love that.
Yeah. So
That's
did
so
that answer
true.
that?
That does, and it's so amazing to me that, like, you know, somebody could have that same struggle with a 5K as somebody has with an Ironman, and then have that same struggle in business, as far
Absolutely.
as, will I ever get a listing? And then the self-limiting beliefs start to trickle in. Will I ever sell another home? I'm on a dry spell, whatever, but then if you think about it and you twist it, it's like, well, yeah, if I push myself to be in shape, if I push my mind to be stronger, if I push myself to market myself better in business, I'll be just fine, and I will be successful. So I there's so many correlations. That's why this conversation is so fascinating to me, and why I really, really appreciate you so much, just because people can stand to learn so much just from that one little tweak, maybe it's just that one little I can't.
Absolutely.
And then this happened off production, and our production assistant Braden was talking about, I can't do that. And you're like, oh, I can't wait to talk to you after this podcast. And I was like, get ready, Braden, here it comes, buddy. It's coming.
Can't is.
Oh man! And then it just triggered something in you.
Yeah, it did. Because I love to
see
give
that
back.
reaction was profound. Like it's motivating and inspiring, to say the very least. So I just think what you're doing for yourself is so powerful, and I think it correlates to your business and the reason why people want to work with you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, can you speak to that as far as how you feel it's helped your business?
100%.
Yeah.
One of the things in terms of what we do in an entrepreneurial opportunity, whether it be real estate or anything else, trust and likability, I think, are probably the two most factors that people are going to want to work with you.
Yeah.
And especially in real estate, we're talking probably 9 out of 10 times their largest financial asset is their home. My motto is your house, your money, because it's not mine, right? And so one of the things that I really want to do in my service as a real estate agent is just to help protect that for each individual. Every transaction is so people intensive that it creates its own story.
Yeah.
So I can't go into any transaction assuming that it's going to be just like the previous one, because it won't. I have to really pay attention to the detail of the people's story and what they need, and how I can help facilitate it with less stress and more money back in their pocket, right? So how does this all wrap into it? It's for me, I think the biggest thing is it's not external, it's all internal, like just to be able to really pay attention and listen. I think people want to be heard, and when they feel like they're heard, they feel valued, which gives them that confidence and security in terms of the process, right?
Sure.
Would you agree
And trust,
with that?
yeah.
And trust, right? So, So for me, though, internally, or how I execute my business because of what I do with Ironmans and whatnot, is, to that word, I can't. I mean, that just rubs every inch of my body, right? To be like, ugh, that's just not, I can't stand that word. Like, I understand that there's, we pivot and adjust and all those kinds of things, but I'm going to find a way, make a way, you know, because I just don't think, well, in the way my mindset is, can't is just so limiting.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about entrepreneurial opportunities, again, going back to Mary Kay, it was my own business, right?
Yeah.
it's just having the freedom to grow in all ways that, and to really challenge who we are as human beings, because we're made for more. Bottom line, period, right? But not everybody wants to toe that line and really get honest and real with themselves in order to grow. And so for real estate, yeah, as far as like other agents, like we have a huge failure rate in this business. I think it's, at last I heard, I think it was like 90% failure rate in the first 5 years as real estate agents. And I think people get into it and they think it's so easy. Like all we do is open doors and make a lot of money. Because nobody sees the back end of what we do. And that's the same with Ironman. Nobody really sees the back end of my daily getting up at 4:30 in the morning commitment to training, because in my world as a real estate agent, my day's unpredictable. Like I think I could not show a house and then all of a sudden I'm showing 5 houses.
Yeah.
So the commitment, right, is just huge, and nobody really sees the back end. So it's having that integrity to do what we need to do to make things a success, even when nobody's looking, right?
Yeah.
So to newer agents, or to anybody, it's just whenever you feel that frustration or that limited, I can't. It's no. Let's dissect that. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
And let's put a leap of faith behind it. You know, because people are always. You just never know. There's always joy in the next moment. Always, but we need to hang in there long enough to find it, right?
Sure.
So
I mean, the discipline behind yourself, like you, is insane. Like it's awesome. Like, and I say that in a good way. Like it's not insane. It's It's phenomenal. And that's hard for somebody to, I think, establish when there's so many processes out there as a business owner. What do you have to do to get to the finish line? It's like, I got to worry about this. So it's easy to get task oriented and not take that CEO approach and have that discipline to be able to either push something to somebody else or, give that sort of flexibility with your business. So, and the fact that you still train for an Ironman or a half Ironman or whatever, knowing that nobody's going to look at a house at 4:30 in the morning,
right.
So that's my time to get up and do it. That's pure discipline, and that's pure insanity in my eyes. But like, it's also incredibly profound, and I love that about you. I love the fact that you just, this is what I'm doing, and I don't care. And I think the mind can mess with
completely.
so much.
Absolutely.
And when you break it down, and you build it back up the way you have, it's like, man, everybody should have to do that. Like, I'm not saying everybody should have to run an Ironman.
Right. I was going to say Ironmans aren't for everybody. I mean, I'm just a big supporter of how can I help you believe that even if it's a 5K, even if it's selling, it doesn't even have to be athletic. It just, whatever it is, to whatever your level up next thing is, to give the example and the inspiration that it's possible.
Sure.
You can do it.
And I think that level of confidence helps grow your business in real estate. Like people see that about you. They see that you're a disciplined real estate agent. You're a relational style person who just wants to help people grow, and not just from a client perspective, from a realtor perspective. So
right.
I mean, there's so many people that have just such great relationships with you, and it's obvious that you're a good person. So
thank you.
To be able to break that discipline down in the business aspect too, I think there's a big correlation between the mental side of the Ironmans and all that, and then the mental preparation in business too.
Yeah,
so.
I think for me it really helps in me to just be that leader of guidance of what's next, and just bringing the client from contract to close and being that confident leader to say, okay, here's our next step. Here's our next step. This is what we need to do. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to be quiet now between you and I because the last 2 weeks, you and the lender are really going to do a lot of conversation and call me if you have a question kind of thing. But once that's completed and we have a clear to close, then we'll re-engage and do our final walkthrough and sit at the closing table and celebrate. So,
and then from that perspective too, literally out the hard conversations,
right?
You know, like it's got to be a lot easier for somebody to accept that conversation as well, knowing that they've built that trust with you.
Yeah, conversation like what?
As far
like
as like,
hard...
hey, this is not the best house, or you know, when you're looking at a house.
I am brutally honest, and I think my clients really appreciate that because. Again, your house, your money, but I'm the professional behind helping them make a solid decision. And I always say, real estate is the most emotional, contractual experience you'll ever have in your life because we're talking about our homes, which are emotional, right? So the first experience, right, is I don't care if I show you 20 houses or 2. It's when you walk in that door, even to the most logical engineer client that I have, when you walk in that door, you're going to feel something. You're going to feel something that says, hey, I like this, and I think I want to try to move forward on it. And as soon as I hear that, then I'm in motion, right? But until I hear that, I'm just kind of hanging out, like opening doors, right, for you and be like, what you like, pointing things out. But I will point out, this is not a good house. You know, I wouldn't even buy it. You know, that kind of stuff. And I'll point it out as to why, especially if it's a first-time home buyer. Investors, completely different. You know, relationship and strategy behind, you know, what we're doing, right? But first-time home buyers, even the most seasoned buyer, like there are people out there that's been 20 years, right, that they haven't bought or sold real estate, and they think they know what they're doing, and I'm like, really, do you? Because real estate's so cyclical, and it's always ever-changing that I always try to, you know, respect that, but also be the lead,
at the end of the day, even if it's only been 4 or 5 years, it's like, it's been 4 or 5 years. I do this every single day.
Right, exactly.
You bring the expertise.
Exactly. So I do think that, yes, somehow I do feel I bring a level of trust and respect pretty quickly to clients, even the internet lead that I don't know, they don't know me, but they might. I have over 100 reviews on Zillow. I always refer people, look, go read them. Go read my reviews, see what other people are saying. So I'm pretty fortunate to have that kind of review exposure as well.
Shameless plug. Or read my article in an upcoming issue of Real Producers.
Amen. I can't wait for it to come out.
It's going to be awesome. So, very shameless.
That's all right.
Yeah. Do we need
Daniel,
to
I can talk for days, dude. What do you got, man?
Well, one thing that keeps replaying in my mind that you said is like the idea of everything being internal. And I just get the sense that you're somebody who doesn't make excuses, right? Like we've got an NAR lawsuit. We've got like so much coming at agents at this industry.
We do.
And I can just sense that you're not somebody who's going to ever make an excuse and let that be a cop out or anything like that. And just from the brief few minutes we've gotten to know each other here a little bit, I can kind of sense that about you. Can you speak into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly why I love real estate, because it never gets boring. Right? I mean, and this is why I can't, no shame to anybody who's got a W-2 employee job where you show up 9 to 5 and that's what you do. I absolutely cannot do that. If I'm bored, if I get bored, I'm bored and I'm out, right? I have to have like freedom to be self-motivated and do what I do. But so to get back to that, real estate is so cyclical and it's ever changing that if I don't learn how to pivot and adjust to the times of what we're in, then I will be a part of that 90% failure rate for sure.
Right.
So it's always learning. And I love that even about the agents that have more years of experience than I do, they're still learning, right?
Yeah.
So it's just not boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yep.
Accept the change and embrace the chaos.
Absolutely. Find a way, make a way,
Yeah.
learn it, be the professional, and do it with grace and ease, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I want to go back to Mary Kay a little bit, only in the sense that, like, it sounds like you had some pretty wild success there. And I would love to know what lessons you learned and what you kind of took away from that you think really launched you into a successful real estate career.
Good question. What took me from Mary Kay to
Well,
real
what
estate?
took you there, and what do you think once you started in real estate, looking back on your experience selling Mary Kay, like, what do you think that you learned through those experiences that really kind of has helped you launch a successful real estate career?
Yeah, well, Mary Kay, I don't care what you're selling, whether it's a lipstick, a house,
Right.
a widget, it's all relationship,
Yeah.
right? And so one of the things, even in Mary Kay, I had to go out and find people, right? I had to attract people. I had to have those conversations, and then also gain trust. So one of the years that I was in there, I was in a division of 100,000 people. I ended up being third in recruiting out of 100,000 people. So I went to
Whoa,
Dallas and
jeez.
was on stage and all the fun stuff. But again, that recruitment piece really, I think, feeds into my real estate of the trust and likability, right?
Yeah.
But Mary Kay just really, it's entrepreneurial, right? Again, it was a business that only, to be a sales director, even within Mary Kay Cosmetics, it was the top 2% of the company.
Wow.
So again, huge failure rates, right? People, get in but they don't want to do the work, right? And the work is inside. It's not external. It's like when I see agents hop brokerage to brokerage to brokerage. I'm like, just bloom and sell real estate.
Yeah.
Bloom where you're planted and make it happen.
Yeah.
It's not the brokerage that's going to make it happen for you always or necessarily. But yes, I did just switch for some of my own reasons, but my reasons are for business, back end business reasons. It's still
like
up
you're
to me.
moving
It's still
every
up to
year.
me
Yeah.
internally to implement.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer, and I said this even when I sold Mary Kay, my systems are only going to take me as far as my systems can support.
Yeah.
Right.
And even today, this is exactly why I switched. Is I want to grow, I want to do more, but I can't. I need systems that are going to help
Sure.
support my growth and allow me to do what I love to do, and that's just to be in front of people and talk. How can I serve you?
Sure.
Right. So, did that answer your question?
This is kind
Absolutely.
of off the cuff here, but I have a really cool question because we are also going to be having a conversation with this gentleman later. What probability or likelihood do you think you could get Peter Chabris to do a half Ironman? And I'm going to ask him the same question and see what his percent is.
Wow. He made it. That's a good one. This is my challenge. Don't tell him.
Okay. That's your challenge?
That'll be my challenge
Okay.
to see where I can push him
I'm
in
going to ask
areas
him too.
because
And it's going to be an interesting conversation.
he's so. He's found a high level of excellence. He lives it.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I want to find that area where he limits himself. And it might be in
And exploit
athletically.
it.
It might be
Yeah, just-
athletically. And then challenge him
And then
and put
get
it
him
out
going.
there. And so he's got to either play big or shrink
He's
small.
I could see him stepping up and rising up to the
Yep.
occasion, but it'll
This
be
is
interesting.
good.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to. That was
No, I
way
love
off
it.
the cuff there.
I
but
love it.
I
I'm
can't
sure
wait
he's
ask
going to
him.
laugh if
He's
he
gonna
hears
laugh.
this. Totally.
He'll probably tell me to cut that out of the production, but
Right.
Brandon, don't.
Yeah, don't cut it, Brandon.
This is my podcast time. You're not cutting that one out.
perfect. Sorry. Go on, Daniel.
Oh, you're good. All right. Well, I would love to ask you some advice for new agents and maybe for some buyers and sellers in today's market. Before we do, I always love to get a quick shout out to Back to Back Ministries. They let us use this amazing podcast studio here. Back to Back Ministries is a global nonprofit orphan care organization with their sights set on providing care for today and hope for every tomorrow. From Cincinnati, Ohio to Hyderabad, India, staff teams around the world are stepping into hard stories and choosing to stay. To learn more about the work Back to Back does, how you can get involved, and why a global team won't stop until every child is known and loved, you can visit backtoback.org today.
Love those guys.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I read the book years ago,
Thank you.
Radical Faith.
Yeah.
Nice.
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 Yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome. So, with that said, what advice would you like to offer? We can start with some agents. What advice
Yeah.
would you give to new agents?
Yeah, even new and or seasoned. I think we all get in positions where we know what we want, or sometimes maybe we always even don't know exactly what we want. But just surround yourself with people who are where you want to be. I think is huge. Hone into their mindsets and then just do. Real estate, I remember when I was a brand new agent and they said, get your license, which I did. And then they were like, forget all the whatever you just learned to get your license. Now let's go create a problem, which meant go get your first contract, whether it be listing or selling. And real estate is so experiential, and I think that's what goes back to even the most seasoned agents are still learning because it's so ever-changing. So just go create problems and then talk to people who are going to teach you and coach you into how to be better and how to troubleshoot things, because you're in business for yourself but not by yourself.
Right.
And that's the value of a great brokerage. To where you can tap into that as well. So
I love that. Go create problems.
go create
That's
problems
phenomenal.
and then troubleshoot with the best to figure out how you're going to guide those clients from contract to close. You might be stressed, but don't let your clients
Yeah.
see that you're that
Great.
stressed.
Tip of the iceberg right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so it's been kind of a roller coaster of a market the past few years. So
Yep.
what kind of advice would you give to just meeting a new buyer, and then you can give advice for a new seller as well?
Yep. The first thing, especially, with really both sellers and buyers, but really I think I hone in heavily with a buyer. I will always do a consultation prior to hitting the road with showing any houses, right? Because, again, going back to how everything's always changing, I want to make sure that I have educated my client enough to where we're kind of on the same page. I will talk everything from the responsibility of them within the contract process, from how we sign documents, the system I use, how to sign documents. I will ask them, do you want to read all this? Because there's a lot of paperwork that you're going to be signing. Do you want to read it all prior to having to sign it? And if so, of course, I'll give it to them ahead of time, and they can, do whatever they want with that. But I will always, if I do that, I will highlight the high points of the contract, because it's 11 pages, of contractual lingo.
Great.
So, and then everything from, what earnest money is to an inspection and who pays for what, and then how the process looks at a high level to close. What was the question?
Advice that you would offer. So I feel like that's
so
great advice for
I
buyers.
sit down with all buyers because I don't like surprises, and I know 9 out of 10 people don't like surprises either. So I try to troubleshoot any potential surprises right up front so that we're educated
Right.
and ready to hit the road with some confidence, and give them some confidence also back into me that
Right.
I know what I'm doing, and I will take great care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then from a seller standpoint, I'm pretty detailed when it comes to that. I mean, I come in with a net seller spreadsheet. I ask them their mortgage payoff so I can give them a potential estimated proceed amount. What are all the fees? What's all in it for you from a financial standpoint? I'll give them the reality of the last 6 months of what's happening in their neighborhood and why I think whatever range of list price that we're gonna discuss. And then of course I always want to ask them first, what do you think your house is worth?
Sure.
Right? Again, your house, your money. And that I think is a huge question. so that I could either agree and or if I disagree. If I think it's higher, then fantastic, right?
Yeah.
If I think it's lower, I'm going to really have a pretty detailed conversation as to why I'm concluding to that.
Right.
So I do a pretty thorough consultation with both sellers and buyers before I even jump in. And then I always ask specifically to a seller, if they're interviewing other agents, what's important to you in an
Right.
agent? I may be it, I may not be it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But I have a pretty good conversion rate.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I bet you do.
But yeah, so I will definitely, do those sorts of things. So I'm building trust. I'm building that relationship to where they have confidence in me, and I'm understanding who they are, kind of what makes them tick from a personality standpoint as well. Because
Right.
if I'm working with an engineer, that's a little different than I'm with somebody who's just like, okay, yeah, let's
Yeah.
go make it happen, right?
Sure.
I mean,
Right.
so I kind of adjust and pivot to who I am working with as well. So a
Nice.
lot of those relationship skills, I think,
Yeah.
have
Love
formed
it.
over the years
Goes a long
too.
way.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
know you guys kind of already knew each other, but I've
Loved
really
it.
enjoyed
Yeah.
getting to know you a little bit
Absolutely.
more. Yeah.
It's motivating for sure. I love talking to you, Chris. Love learning from you, and love drawing motivation from you too. So we can't thank you enough for being on the podcast and sharing your story as well. I think there's a lot of people out there that can gain a little bit more just from listening to this. So thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been great.
It's been
Absolutely.
a pleasure. Thanks for listening to the Cincinnati Real Producers podcast powered by Nextdoor Photos. We do this every week, so be sure to subscribe so you can follow along. If you liked our conversation, leave us a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts.